Franz woke up late for school on a bright and warm morning. He feared his teacher, M. Hamel, would question him about French participles. The birds chirped at the edge of the woods, tempting him to run away. But Franz resisted the temptation and hurried toward his school building. As he passed the town hall, he noticed a crowd gathered at the bulletin board. He ran past, wondering what could be the matter this time. But today, the classroom was as quiet as a Sunday morning. Franz felt terrified as he opened the door to enter the room. To his surprise, M. Hamel did not scold him for being late. Franz noticed his teacher wearing his beautiful green coat and silk cap. The back benches, usually empty, were filled with villagers sitting silently. M. Hamel stood up and announced the order from Berlin. Only German was to be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. This was their last French lesson, and he wanted them to be attentive. These words fell like a thunderclap upon the young boy. Franz, he suddenly understood why the villagers were sitting in the back. They were there to thank the teacher for his 40 years of service. Franz felt a deep regret for wasting his time in the past. He had neglected his lessons to go sliding on the river Saar. His books, once a burden, now seemed like old friends to him. M. Hamel spoke of the French language as the most beautiful in the world. He urged them to guard it and never forget their mother tongue. He explained everything with such patience that it seemed easy to learn. Franz listened with intense focus, wanting to capture every single word. Even the little pigeons on the roof cooed very low in sorrow. Franz wondered if the Germans would force the pigeons to sing in German. M. Hamel sat motionless in his chair, gazing at his surroundings. He wanted to imprint the image of his classroom in his mind. For 40 years, he had been in the same place teaching his students. Suddenly, the church clock struck 12, signalling the end of the day. The trumpets of the Prussian soldiers sounded under their very windows. M. Hamel stood up, looking very pale and tall in his chair. He tried to speak, but something choked his throat, stopping his voice. He turned to the blackboard and took a piece of white chalk. With all his strength, he wrote as large as he could. He wrote the words, "Vive la France," for all to see. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the cold wall. Without saying a word, he made a gesture with his hand. He signaled that the school was dismissed and they could go. The lesson was over, but the impact would last a lifetime. Franz walked home, carrying the weight of a lost language. He realized the true value of education and his own heritage. The villagers left the classroom with heavy hearts and quiet steps. They knew that their culture was being taken away from them. The memory of that day remained etched in Franz's young mind. He promised himself never to take his language for granted again. Every word of the lesson became a treasure in his memory. The beauty of French was now a flame burning in his heart. He looked back at the school one last time with sadness. The struggle for identity had just begun for the people there. They would hold on to their language in their private thought. Education is the key to freedom and the soul of a nation. Franz walked into the sunset, carrying the spirit of France. The last lesson was not just a class, but a final awakening. His mother tongue would live on, forever alive in his heart.